Okay, so somebody asked me this question. Michael R. said, do you have tips on how to make use of the extra range or most of the range on a 6-string? Thanks. Okay. Yes, I do. I haven't really planned this video out. I'm just going to kind of speak from the dome. Tips on how to make use of the extra range or most of the range on a 6-string. I think the number one reason that people probably go to the 6-string bass is for the extended range and for the ability to play bigger chords that you just can't play on other basses. Bahamut is having some buzzing issues right now. Please ignore the buzz. Been trying to resolve them. But yeah, these chords, you can use 4-string chords, 5-string chords. If you have the finger muscle, you can even just bar across all 6 strings, and it's like you have a huge, like, piano chord of fourths. So yeah, you can mess around with chords. You can add harmonics to chords. That gets you a lot more. Range coming out of the bass. And then of course just regular chords. Chords. Another thing you can do is you can come up with really ridiculous riffs that just go across like an insane amount of range on the bass, like things you would see somebody like Thundercat do, or like John Patitucci. Like in one example that comes to mind is in the NPR Tiny Desk concert with Mac Miller. Thundercat plays bass on What's the Use. There are 2 or 3 times during that song where Thundercat busts out a gnarly riff, and one of them happens during a break, and the riff is so ridiculous that Mac is actually laughing from how awesome it was right after. That's pretty awesome. If you do some kind of like pentatonic thing, which is an easier thing to do, but you just stretch it out across the range of the bass more. So like, yeah, maybe something like that. Something like, but you can just kind of stretch it out more, like. That riff was so intense that apparently I knocked my ukulele over. You can do riffs and stuff like that. Another thing you could do is tapping. Obviously, you can tap on any bass. I would say it's harder on 6-string because I feel like my experience on six strings is that it's a lot harder to eliminate sympathetic resonance or like strings ringing out. And the other thing is, unless your six string bass is set up very well, it's like really easy for it to buzz. All right, so here's like a basic chord. So if we do stuff like this, right? You could try just tapping a chord. So one way you could do it would be like, but you know, you could do that on any four string bass, right? So that's not really specific to six string bass. So maybe we go down here, and maybe we bring this up an octave. Around on these upper two strings. But yeah, you could get like a five string bass with just a high C. So maybe in terms of tapping and using the six string bass specifically, you could tap on the B and E strings and way up here on the G and C strings. Not necessarily that you have to use like the whole range of the six string bass all at the same time, but maybe it's just more of a thing where like you're tapping and using this higher register up here, and then you kind of work your way down through a chord progression and you end up using the B string or something like that. So you could do like just move chord shapes around. You could do stuff like that. That chord I'm moving around, I'm just kind of going through like the key of G major. So on my E, A, D, and G strings up here, I started on the 15th, 17th, 19th, and 16th frets respectively. So 15, 17, 19, 16. Then I'm tapping with my index and ring finger in my right hand on the A and D strings. And then that's a perfect fifth shape there. And over here, I'm doing either index and middle or index and ring for this 10th over here, which I just talked about tenths in my Cool Bass Chords episode 1 video. So you can check that out if you're not sure what a tenth is. And I happen to cover it in the key of G major, so that works out well. So here's 15 and 16, and then here is 17 and 19. So I'm tapping these two notes in the 10th, 15 and 16 with my fretting hand, and then I tap 17 and 19 in my right hand. And then down here on the E, I'm just doing the same type of chord. E, B, F sharp, G. This is again E, A, D, G. I know these are the same four strings on a four-string bass, but you can move this around to the higher strings or the lower strings. It all translates and moves around. This just happens to be an easy place to tap it. So you have 12, 14, 16, 12 here. E, B, F sharp, G. Now I'm back to a major shape. So this is a minor, or sorry, this is a major, G major 9, basically. This is an E minor 9, D major 9, C major 9, A minor 9, G major 9, and then E minor 9, D major 9, and a C major 9, and then, you know, I was just kind of moving around through there, but instead of strumming it or finger picking it, I was tapping it. Kind of sounds like that Police song or that Sting song that uses this type of chord. Then you can do this instead of tapping this down here, which you can do, but some people might find a little awkward. You can tap it over here. So now you're using your B string. Instead of doing this up here, you can actually tap it up here and go all the way up here. So maybe that's like an exercise you can do, that you can work on tapping through these chords. I don't really practice tapping. But maybe I should. Why don't we do that over here too? Tapping. So chords, harmonics, you can include in chords. Talked about that. So you got chords, harmonics and chords. You got tapping. You don't have to tap chords, by the way. You can tap riffs too. Another thing I like to do with the riffs actually is that I'll do stuff like I gotta figure out how I like this bass to be set up still. I have like all the strings at kind of weirdly different heights right now, but I used to look at a lot of Victor Wooten stuff. So I checked out all his like double thumbing whatnot, all that stuff. It doesn't really sound too much like slap or double thumbing with the flat wounds on here, but you can still get the rhythmic effects. So like there I can do slap, hammer, hammer, open, hammer, hammer. He does this thing called open, hammer, pluck. So we'll do an open string with his thumb. He'll do a hammer on with his left hand. And then he'll do a pluck on something. So you might do like triplets, like. So, you know, maybe if you're doing the open hammer pluck thing, you could do something like this. But I found open hammer was something I could do to do a lot of fast, like triplety stuff and pentatonic stuff. And sometimes I just do it with my thumb, sometimes I end with some pops, but mostly it's thumb stuff. Sometimes I go back down. I guess there's kind of like, if you just do some like really notey stuff and cover a lot of range on the bass, that's a good way. If you can cover a lot of range really quickly in a way that sounds cool or sounds like musically appealing, that's a good way to use more of the range of the 6-string bass. Oh, another cool thing you can do is artificial harmonics. So that works really well and in a really interesting way with chords, I found. So that's a fun one. You know, maybe you strum like your low B string or your low E string, and you let it ring out as a drone, and then you hold out a chord and you do. So then I guess we're really back to chords again, but with the added element of doing artificial harmonics. There are a lot of things you can do, and they're all good things. Hey, this is Future Jackson from the editing room to say that it turns out that I had a lot to say on this topic, and I spoke from the dome for like a whole hour. So I'm cutting this video in half, and I tried to cut it down as much as I possibly could. But I have a couple songs that I released that I sing and I play bass on, and I rap, and I used a lot of the range of the 6-string bass on those songs. There is one called Hurdles.
You gotta get grounded, connect with the earth, stand in yourself, let the universe be heard. Your heart will tell you what's true if you listen, but whether you do is up to you. I know which one I choose. Hurdles come and go, but I'm on next level. Grab the power up, get back and jump. I can't be stopped. I'm on the come up. This James Bobcats can't stop me. I'm gonna put the run up on the finale, but it won't be easy. That's what keeps you interested. Pushing boundaries, constantly reinvesting in myself and the way for love.
there is one called Thinking About the Future.
Don't need to stop recollecting, reassessing connections. Thought you were in it to win it. Let's go, let's get it. I could be chilling or I could be naked. I could be conservative or I could be greedy. I'm thinking about the future, I'm trying to place my statement. Yeah, the present is a gift, but I'm about exchanging. I'ma be quitting this, scrolling down the screen shit. Look at me flipping it, just cause it's a sick trick. Look at me, how I be doing this differently. Take a look at you too, do you just see what you wanna see? Cause I don't know about you, but as for me, I'm becoming the man I always wanted to be. I'm flush, fly, high five, no I'm not a vampire, but you can resurrect me any night you're feeling the fire.
I also have another tune. It's an instrumental. It's called Pixel City Digital Bass Battle Stage, which is also out. It's an instrumental composition, but I do use my 6-string bass on there a lot, and I do use a fair amount of the range on the 6-string bass, largely in the upper register, but I take a bass solo that kind of goes a little bit lower down the neck too, so I cover a lot of the range in the bass in there. So you could always listen to those and maybe that sparks some creative ideas for you. Oh, and also definitely follow me on Spotify if you have not followed me on Spotify already, because I'm putting out tunes all the time. I put out 3 lo-fi hip-hop beat tapes this year already. Last year I put out 2 original songs and 3 original instrumentals, and I have a lot more coming. So definitely follow me on there. Alright, stay tuned for part 2. Be well. Peace.